It's hard for me to talk about Johnny Cash because of my personal relationship with him and with June, and I love them as people so much. Johnny actually asked me to sing at his wife's funeral, and I miss them. They were a big influence on me personally as well as musically. I think everybody knows the story. I mean, I hope most people know the story of how daring it was for him to go and sing to what he felt like was, I mean, these were his people he could relate to, these people as much as he could relate to the famous people that he would sing with. I remember my dad playing A Boy Named Sue, and the story of that, my dad always thought was so funny, you know, and that's kind of like the Mark Twain storytelling but put to music. This character that we could laugh at, laugh with, and relate to, the relationship between the boy named Sue and his dad. And I just remember my dad playing it and not really fully understanding why it was so funny and, you know, the importance of it. But it was really the story of Johnny going to a prison and playing for those guys, and his faith taking him there, and the fact that June was there too, I think, as a partner in his faith and in his sobriety, and to give back to these guys. I love that. I mean, I think that is a true testament to who Johnny Cash was. You know, and to me, he's also one of the architects of rock and roll. You know, that famous picture of him flipping off Jim Marshall, the photographer. I don't know if there's anything more rock and roll than that. I Walk the Line, certainly. Jackson, the two of them singing that. I had numerous occasions where I got to go and watch them sing live, and the dynamic between the two of them was just one that you just always, you hope you're going to have in your life. You know, that love between the two of them, that agreement, the work ethic, what they'd been through as a couple, and how it came through their music, and we all could see ourselves in the fragility of Johnny and his faith and the way he lived his life and put it out there in the music. You know, that he was a flawed character, and yet he found his strength through his beliefs, his faith, and his marriage. And everything about the two of them is, for me, a lesson in living, and I miss them. I want that outfit. Come on, people. Yeah. A man who is not afraid to wear a wide-collared, flowered shirt. He has, unequivocally, one of my favorite voices of all time. And the way I got turned on to him at an early age was he did a duet with James Taylor, Bartender Blues. That's when I went back and kind of educated myself. And a lot of those songs you'd hear on the radio already, but yeah, He Stopped Loving Her Today, and She Thinks I Still Care. Those are amazing ballads that you wish you would have written. One of the things that I loved about this period of country music was that they weren't afraid to use the big arrangements, the big ballad arrangements. I reference Billy Sheryl, and my eyesight's so bad I can't. Yeah, produced by Billy Sheryl. I love that kind of production because it creates an emotional bed for the story. But let's face it, the stories on this record are stories of heartache and disappointment and redemption and turning your life around and struggles, and you provide a bed of arrangement like what Billy Sheryl did, and it amped up the emotion of it. But his voice, I mean, this guy's voice has influenced so many male singers' voices, I believe. I love Tammy's story too. She was a hairdresser, and it's a testament to no matter where you are, if you have a voice like that and a story and the stars line up, you'll find your way from the hairdresser's chair to vinyl. Stand By Your Man, obviously, that's the one we know her for. But D-I-V-O-R-C-E, that song, and I Don't Want to Play House, these songs were, for me, and like what Loretta did, they broke the barriers about what women were supposed to be singing about. You know, divorce was a taboo, and just like The Pill and some of the things that Loretta sang about, these were topics that, coming into the 60s, women were starting to talk about. That had always been taboo, and they made it okay. You know, they wrote songs that were important for us women to be able to sing and to talk about, and have it not be only things that you could talk about in your house with your girlfriends, you know, and I love them for that. Waylon and Willie, for me, are the quintessential outlaw writers in towns, and I guess for me, as a songwriter, I kind of always related to them more than the more conventional, because they made it okay to be kind of a rock and roll in the country format, a rocker. And when I was growing up, it's kind of funny, and playing in bands, I grew up playing keyboards. I wanted to be a guitar slinger. And I was heavily influenced by the Rolling Stones during the period that they were kind of trying to be country outlaws. You even hear in Mick's voice of him trying to sound like a country guy. And I know they were hanging out with Graham Parsons a lot, and they were emulating these guys. And that's what I gravitated to, was sort of the guys who were trying to be these guys. I think at the end of the day, we all kind of see ourselves as outlaws because it is an aspect to all of us, even if we don't get out and raise hell. There's a part of us that wishes that's who we were, and we live vicariously through these guys, you know? Jessi Colter, I mean, she's still, to me, one of the most edgy, rockin' female country artists, and she was, you know, she was like the female version of the Outlaws, and real smoky voice, and broke into pop world with I'm Not Lisa. That's the song that I remember her for, but you know, just looking at her, she was, you know, she was a badass. For female country singers and songwriters, I think this is just, she's such a great reference if you're trying to do that kind of female outlaw thing. She also was somebody to me that I always thought she probably didn't put up with a lot of, but she also made it feminine, which is very, very cool. She, you know, she's like the 60s, 70s version of what probably Loretta was writing about in the 60s, you know, not in the kitchen. She's out with her guitar, drinking, I always think, you know, probably drinking bourbon right out of the bottle, you know, and singing these kind of tough edge songs. Bakersfield, you know, Buck Owens, Merle Haggard. It's funny because when I was growing up, California seemed like a world away. I always felt like the people who were making country music lived right down the road from me, like in Memphis or Nashville or even down in Oklahoma and Texas. And there was this great sound that came out of Bakersfield, and I got turned on to it by Hee Haw. Merle had this interesting story of having served time, and then when you saw him, he looked like Montgomery Clift, just this beautiful blue-eyed singer writing about the railroad and writing songs about having lived that life, and yet he was just this gorgeous man and wrote songs like I Can't Stand Me, which is, you know, part of what it means to be a flawed character, like these feelings that you have about yourself, and he, you know, he put it to music. I recently got to honor him at the Kennedy Center and got to meet him, and he's just a, you know, he's such a legend.